I'm very open with comedy. I think everything should be up for grabs because it takes away the power of the hurt that it can cause. I've always thought.
It reverses.
Like with South Park, there was that one episode where they were finally able to tell an AIDS joke or something because
a certain amount of time. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I mean, AIDS is an awful thing, and the Holocaust, and life is really sad and painful.
Yeah.
But if you can make light of it, it takes away some of that pain.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so being able to, so you can't make jokes about racism or you can't do it about gay people. It's like, okay, well then we're just going to let that fester. We can't make light of it. We're going to let it just get worse.
Yeah.
That's what it's just a crazy world. I mean, comedy is, if anything, is the one thing that shouldn't be censored.
Yeah. Hi, it's Benjamin here again today. This is either episode 9 or 10. I don't have my laptop on me to confirm which number it is, but here we are again, and today I'm joined by Brendan Takish or Takish?
Takish is like the Chicago...
Takish?
The Chicago accent coming out.
Yeah,
Takish.
Yeah, I mean, I talk pretty close to Chicagoing. It was funny, I had someone on like an Instagram comment. It's like, are you from Chicago? Like someone that
really?
Saw one of my reels. Yeah, because I mean, we talk pretty similar, like us in Canada. Yeah.
And now how close is Ann Arbor to like Detroit? Does Detroit
40 minutes?
Does Detroit have its own kind of way to speak?
No, everyone talks the way I talk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So we're 40 minutes from Detroit, like 45 from Canada. Yeah. Okay. But Brendan was my editor for Rosetta Stone. He's editing Hometown Summer as well, and producer on it, and was even supposed to act on it. But I guess you'll have to watch the BTS documentary when that comes out to hear the story on that one.
Oh my God! Or get the newsletter.
Yeah,
because you had a good story in there.
Yeah,
what a nightmare.
Thanks. Yeah, no, yeah, we had some out of our control airport casting nightmares multiple times on this production.
Yeah, I don't know. Do we blame CrowdStrike or Windows? Like, who did we ever decide like who is the real? It's just a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah,
one of them.
Yeah. No, what a mess.
But you got out here at least. Did you fly Delta?
I did.
Okay, you took a risk.
Yeah. No, that's no. I'm fortunate to make it here. So the background looks different. We are in Seattle, Washington. I'm actually out here for the football game, Michigan, Washington. Who knows how that will end up? I mean, by the time this is released, the season will be pretty much over. But
high hopes, right? They had a good season. They won last year.
Yeah, they beat Washington in the national championship.
Oh,
so this is a rematch. Yeah.
Well, it's so interesting that I was out here. I'm out here for work traveling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's we're talking about Chicago and Detroit. Yeah.
But yeah, I've been traveling all over, and I have my laptop. I've been editing Vermont, Alabama.
Yeah.
I was in Mexico for vacation, and work brought me to Washington. It just so happened that you were on your way here.
It's quite the convenience. Yeah. Quite ironic. Yeah.
And we've been working together now for over 2 years, or about 2 years.
I would say about a year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the
first time we met. Yeah, we met in person for the first time about an hour and a half ago. Yeah.
Well, that's just the cool thing about technology these days, and making movies and content now, is that you can develop a relationship.
Yeah.
From a distance away. It's so easy now to transfer files and share clips, and then have meetings on Zoom. Really just it's changed the game. Like, you don't have to be in LA anymore or New York to be making movies like this.
Right, yeah. Oh, that is so awesome. Yeah, so I mean, you kind of do it all. I mean, you act, you edit, you do writing as well, right?
Not so much. Not as much as I used to. I used to write a lot
when
I was a kid, and then in high school, college. But yeah, I'm just so in love with movies. Pretty much. I was thinking about this the other day, but my parents would always tell me when I was a baby, I would have a binky in my mouth watching like and this is gonna date me, this like VHS tape of We Sing, like musicals, and I'd be holding the box, the VHS box, looking at it and looking up at the TV, and then looking back down.
Yeah.
And like ever since then, I just wanted to work on movies, and it didn't really matter in what capacity, just to be involved in it.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah. I know, I love that passion. Yeah. I mean, I feel like that's like really where the magic comes from, and like what makes independent cinema so special. I love a lot of the blockbusters, or also just like movies that are made in like the $10 to $30 million range. I mean, those come out less and less these days, but I do love a lot of those movies. But like getting in like the $1 million below, and I mean, Hometown Summer is way below a $1 million budget, but like a lot of like the $1 million below. Well, I mean, like not a lot. Like pretty much every single $1 million below is going to be an independent film. Mm-hmm. Like you're not getting like a Warner Brothers $500,000 movie. It's like those independent films. Like I feel like there's like a lot more passion on those, and for better or worse, a lot of them are written not from the perspective of looking to make a profit. Obviously, everyone wants to,
right?
But like they're not. Things are a lot more uncensored and unfiltered and less convenient to like reach wide audiences, because like these are like passion projects. I think that's like a big chunk of the reason why independent films are so special.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because when you have less money, you're forced to be more creative, because you can only do so much with what you have. Whereas, you have these multi-million-dollar blockbusters, they have all the CGI tools, and then you go in and it still feels just so flat and hollow. Like this isn't somebody's passion project. This is somebody like, okay, we need to sell this next Marvel movie.
Yeah.
We have to hit this amount of money at the box office. And I had done acting, and I've worked on professional sets in LA, and what I'll always remember is like the student films and the independent films. Those projects were always the most fun to be a part of.
Yeah,
everyone is so passionate, and they're putting their all in it.
Yeah, that's so cool. I've never been on a professional movie set before, and I mentioned this in another podcast. I think I was talking to Savannah about this, about how, I mean, just doing the math, like on an independent film set, like, I don't know, off the top of my head, we had probably 8 crew members, including me, and then at any given time, usually 3 to 5 actors on set. Sometimes, a couple of days we had more, but when you have that, like, under 20 people on set, like, everyone knows each other, like, every production assistant knows every actor, the director, the camera crew, sound, lighting, etc., and vice versa. But then I feel like when you get on these professional movie sets, again, I don't have that experience, but just doing the math, when you have like 200 people on set every single day, like it feels a lot less personal, I would imagine.
Especially if you start getting into like the union projects.
Oh,
and
God.
I don't want to get you started. I'm not a big fan either, but if you're in the union, you do your job, and there's someone to do each job.
Yeah.
And I get the point, we want to protect wages and make sure everyone gets paid fairly, gets a shot, but in an independent project, if you need someone to hold the boom, like, oh, you're not union, you can't hold the boom, you can't move these lights, that's my job. So everyone has their place on a union set.
Yeah.
Where you, like, and you've experienced this already, and I have on independent movies, it's a much more family experience.
Yes.
Everyone's pitching in.
Yeah, 100%, yeah. That is...
So, and like, I'm thinking now, I've shot a couple of short horror movies, and one of them, the big scary villain in it, the scary monster was going to be this very tall 6'5" guy in one of those morph suits, just like a black morph suit, so you can't see, because they're going to pop out of the shadow.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a flight issue like with Delta, but they just didn't show up. And so I had to step in in this giant morph suit that really didn't fit me because I'm not 6'5". I'm like the opposite. We flipped the numbers. But you pitch in like because you have to get the shot done. You have to be creative about it, and there's no real limits. If as long as everybody is working toward the same vision, everyone can pitch in and help make that happen. Yeah, no,
I just think about something. It's like if someone is from the studio system or whatever, it's like, oh god, like fuck these guys. Like look at these guys like shitting on like the professionalism of a movie center. Like this is gonna make their stomach churn. There was a moment on set where like we needed a light adjusted. And Christian was working on something else, and like Rishi was calling him, and then like the actor that was standing by that light was like, "Oh, I can just move this." And it's like, and it worked, and it wasn't a big deal. It took like 10 seconds, and it was just like cool. Like I'm glad like we got that done, but like I know like if that was on like a Marvel set, like you probably could have heard a pin drop if something like that happened.
Safety is freaking out now. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, it's a different beast being on an independent set, but it's a lot more fun, I think.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of big directors look back on their first couple of movies as being their favorite projects. I don't know, we were talking about Quentin Tarantino earlier. He loves all of his movies. But was Reservoir Dogs was his first movie, or did he do something?
Well, Reservoir Dogs is his first release movie. He said he made a movie before that, and he somehow the footage got lost, and he said it was just terrible anyways, that he doesn't miss it. But Reservoir Dogs was like his first, it was his first released movie.
Okay. I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think that was so great.
It's actually my favorite one even.
I think Reservoir Dogs is better than Pulp Fiction even.
I think so too, release. Yeah.
So those early projects, there's something when you go into Hollywood, it depends, but like you get pulled into the system, and I was always told filmmaking is not an art form, it's a business. And it depends where you are. If you're in Hollywood, it's a business.
Yeah.
And they beat the theater actor, the theater student out of you if you're going to be an actor.
Yeah.
My favorite teacher was Brian Reese. And he said, my job is not to teach you acting, it's to pull out all the bad training you've been given, because the theater world and the cinema world is so different for multiple of reasons. Number one, the camera picks up so much of you.
Yeah.
And theater actors are very big and very emotional because they have to reach the back of the room.
Yeah.
But another part of it is just it's a business. They have to make their money back when they're doing it. They're looking at, is this going to sell or not? Do we have to make cuts to some part of the budget to make this work? So when you get into Hollywood and making these movies, the art form kind of gets lost a little bit.
Yeah.
And you can see that with a lot of big directors.
Yeah. Not all of them, though, thankfully.
No,
I mean, I think that, Tarantino, I think is actually an example of someone where you still see that passion and the artistic aspect, and Scorsese for sure, and Todd Phillips. I mean, I think you really see that. I think that so The Hangover's his big comedy. I mean, he also made Old School, Road Trip, Starsky and Hutch, War Dogs, and the list goes on. And then so The Hangover's his big comedy, and then The Joker's his big non-comedy.
Yeah.
But both of those are seem very artistic and very different from a movie you go to see at the theater that's made on those kinds of budgets.
It's a blessing, and you can certainly do it. I think you see it most when these big directors are brought into something like a Marvel universe, where Joss Whedon of Buffy the Vampire Slayer is one of my favorite shows of all time, and he gets brought in to do the Avengers. And I guess maybe it's because I'm not a huge Marvel fan, but it just seems so sterile and so safe, where he can't really put his own spin on it.
I mean, I don't like really any of the movies. I don't hate all of them, but I wouldn't say there's any of them that I like.
No, and they've gotten progressively worse. I don't hear a lot of fans after Endgame.
Yeah.
And that's part of just, like, the whole culture, like, nowadays in Hollywood.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think that this kind of segues into something that I know we've talked a lot about off camera. I think these things kind of go together. Like we're talking about, like, Scorsese or how I was, like, mentioned Scorsese, Tarantino, and Phillips as, like, three guys who are, like, you really see that artistic aspect. I think, and, like, you mentioned, like, the Marvel, like, playing it safe. Like, I would say all three of those guys, like, none of them play it safe. Mm-hmm. Like, there are things that, like, happen in their movies, like, even, like, modern ones where it's like, never ever bothers me, but it's like, oh, I didn't realize you could still, like, talk like that and, like, get that in a movie. Yeah. It's like, but they do it because, like, they, like, go true to their vision, and, like, if someone is racist or homophobic or whatever, like, you don't, like, water them down and, like, make them not, like, say certain words or like behave a certain way. Like, no, this is how, and, like, because it's true to the story. But, like, you wouldn't see that. I mean, I don't think Marvel would even, like, have, like, someone who is, like, racist in their movie, because, like, that would be too risky, which I think does a disservice, like, because it's just not on it. Like, it does a disservice to, like, actual racism or, like, actual, like, hatred issues, because, like, you're like, oh, like, this just doesn't exist. Like, we're gonna pretend like this doesn't happen.
It's like a fantasy world.
Yeah.
And then another aspect of it is just, again, there's so much money on the line. Like, oh, you're gonna take the risk to have a racist villain? Like, what is the media gonna say? What is everyone on the red carpet gonna say? No one's gonna see this.
And the funny thing is I think that people like Tarantino and Scorsese and Phillips, like, they're regarded so highly because like they do take the risks, and like it like they just get their vision made, and like I mean, like they make honest movies, and I mean, we have like just like this weird world of political correctness that's like crazy. Like remember like when comedies used to be funny?
Oh, I know. And all my favorite comedies were boundary pushing.
Yeah.
And another thing is like everyone got picked on. And if you're picking on everybody, then it's like everything's fair game. You're not hammering and going after one group. That's discrimination. But this idea that you can't make fun of this person, this group, like, okay, so it's like they say reverse racism isn't a thing, but it kind of is.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, it's comical.
And so, like, Tarantino does get the hate, and that's totally fine. But other people see what he's doing. He's not glamorizing these racist characters or anything. Like, they're clearly villains in the movie.
Yeah.
But in order to make them real villains, it's got to be real. And I mean, because he's notorious for dropping the N-word.
Yeah.
It's a big risk, but it feels real.
I mean, like, how are you going to make a movie on slavery?
Yeah,
like,
I know.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the funny thing too, is that like in these pictures, like the comedy movies, like where like all of these like crazy lines are being like spout off, like they're like almost always by like someone who's like, look at how ridiculous this guy behaves.
Oh, yeah.
I think about the line from Old School in the beginning when he's in the taxi and he says, like, he's, like, trying to get his seatbelt and like, it won't go. And he's like, well, what do you suggest I do? And the driver turns around and says, I suggest you stop being such a faggot. And it's like that line really got me. It was very, very fun, like, well written, well acted. It's like, no one's like this. If you like pinpoint this taxi driver, this is like the epitome of someone that I would hate to spend any time with voluntarily. Yeah. Like, this isn't like, he's not like the protagonist, and like, look at how like great this guy is.
Yeah, it's not like everybody starts like clapping when he says that. It's like, everyone's like, wow, this guy, I would not want to be in his taxi.
Yeah.
It's different because, like, I mean, we recognize that these are bad people, but just to say, no, you can't say it, well, why not? I mean, we got to make these villains feel real, or these antagonists feel this, this way.
And I ask for you personally, I mean, we've never, like, formally talked about this, but you're gay or bisexual.
Gay, yeah.
Gay. How does that make you feel? Like that line, or like the line from The Hangover, the infamous line. Like, how did
it doesn't bother me because it doesn't necessarily feel like an attack, because it's another swear word,
right?
You know, I think South Park had that good episode of
The Wheel of Fortune.
Was it? Oh, yeah, I can't even go. But he was like, they were like in court or something. They were explaining the difference between something being gay and something being another word, like, so it doesn't feel like an attack. It's just, if you know, because that person could come back and throw some racist slur at you, and so now we're just attacking each other. We're just kind of swearing at each other.
Yeah.
It's not like the taxi driver was going on like this 5-minute tirade, like, this is this, and like, you're fucking disgusting, and blah blah blah, and like,
yeah, and again, like, that guy was a fucking douchebag. Because I think that this ties into like another issue. Is I think it's a lot of people, and not in every instance, but I think it's a lot of people that like aren't even tied to these groups that are saying like, don't joke about this, don't do that, when like people who aren't said group, like non-gay people saying like, you can't have like this line or whatever. It's like, wait, what? And then like all of like the like gay people or black people that I've met or whatever that that society's quote unquote trying to protect are like they like find these things to be funny or artistically fit if it's not a comedy. And it's,
I find that more offensive, like the pandering, like, oh, you can't make fun of gay people, these poor gay people, they can't take it, they're so marginalized. Like, I can take care of myself.
I thought about that so much, just that level of self-righteousness and virtue signaling, like trying to, I mean, it ties into like, it's like the, what would be the term, like reverse homophobia?
I don't know what the term would be, but it's a double standard. Because you can't make certain woke jokes, and like they'll be very offended because they're fighting for a cause, and that's fine. You know, you're fighting for your cause, but I think people need to just get a stronger spine. Because when you're saying it's kind of like the Streisand effect a little bit, where like, oh, don't take pictures of my house, and then all of a sudden now everybody's taking pictures of the house, and you're making the problem worse, because now people feel like, oh, well, I can't say homophobic jokes, well, now I really got to go for it. And then the pendulum swings a little too far the other way.
And I feel that. Not that I've ever, like, gone out of my way to, like, tell, like, an off-color joke or whatever, but I think there very much is a very real thing of someone saying, you can't do this, and it's like, oh, no, like, now I have to, because, like, I'm being censored if I don't, and, like, Chappelle's like so big on this. Like I even heard him talk about this in an interview. Like he said, like, I have crossed boundaries excessively to make a point at times to stand up for the future generation of comics and show no, you don't just get bullied by these people and say, oh, okay, we'll add this to the list of things we can't joke about. Like, and it's very much like seen it personally. Like I remember like I've been to 2 of his shows, and the first one there was like a couple of jokes about the transgender community, and it was just kind of like whatever, okay, like all of his jokes, like he's very funny, and like okay, like those were funny, like no, like I didn't think anything of it, and then of course like it was on like all of like the certain news source headlines, and like there were these calls to get rid of him and everything, and like there were like venues that wouldn't have him anymore, and the next time I saw him 1 or 2 years later, like almost everything was a transgender joke, because he wants to show that like, no, like this is fine, like like we are gonna do this, and like now I have to, like now I don't have a choice, like
and that reminds me of this, like I think it was Ricky Gervais. He hosted the Golden Globes once, right? So like he had a little bit where some girl emailed him or something like this, like, oh, you can't talk about people with food allergies, like, you know, children died. He's like, well, I make jokes about the Holocaust, 9/11, but apparently food allergies, that's where you draw a line. I've always liked, like, I'm very open with comedy. I think everything should be up for grabs because it takes away the power of the hurt that it can cause. I've always thought
it reverses.
Like with South Park, there was that one episode where they were finally able to tell an AIDS joke or something because
certain amount of time. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
But I mean, AIDS is an awful thing, and the Holocaust and life is really sad and painful.
Yeah,
but if you can make light of it, it takes away some of that pain.
Oh my God, yeah.
And so, being able to, so you can't make jokes about racism, or you can't do it about gay people. It's like, okay, well then we're just gonna let that fester. We can't make light of it. We're gonna let it just get worse.
Yeah,
that's what. It's just a crazy world. I mean, comedy is, if anything, is the one thing that shouldn't be censored.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, no, we've been in a really poor spot with comedy. I am optimistic. Mm-hmm. I tend to be an optimistic person, and I used to not be. I think I definitely, as a default, had been very pessimistic just generally everything in life over the years.
Yeah.
And I think just from going on a mental health journey and also just life experience, like realizing that things really aren't as bad. And like the worst case scenario of things never actually comes true, like ever in my life. Mm-hmm. And really just starting to look at things from an optimistic lens. I think things are going to come back. I really do. Yeah. Like I don't see 20 years from now, like the comedy's not being funny. I don't know when it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be 2 years from now, all of a sudden, like we just get good comedy after good comedy after good comedy, or if it's going to be 10, or if it's going to be 15. But this is not going to go on forever. Because whenever like something really funny does come out, like there's a reason why Dave Chappelle gets paid why Netflix gives him money that like he just can't turn down. And like when there was like a Tom Brady roast, which was like the like most like politically incorrect thing I've seen in I don't know how long. Like there's a reason why everyone was going to see this. And I think a big thing that's going to happen in the movie industry is I know Todd Phillips said his next movie is going to be a comedy. And he's not the kind of person that's going to be like, oh, okay, we won't do this. Like, his next comedy is going to be very much in the world of Old School and The Hangover and whatever. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if that's going to be 2025, 2026, 2027, whatever. I mean, they'll let him make it because, like, all of his movies do very well. I think that could be a very big milestone for modern comedy if like he goes out and makes one for $30 million and it does 300 at the box office and everyone loves it and wants more, and it's like that could be like the straw that breaks the camel's back of like this crazy woke culture that we've been living in from the movie industry and like comedy in particular.
I really hope so, because I was trying to think back on like what was the last good comedy that I saw, and I don't think it's been since like Bridesmaids or like.
I really liked Blockers.
Yeah.
That was 2018, I believe. Mm-hmm. I really liked that one. I don't know if you've seen it.
I saw that one. I saw that in theaters.
Oh, you did? Okay.
And it had some laughs, but it didn't really stick with me. And
interesting.
It's really been since like Bridesmaids and The Hangover and like the late, I don't know, call them the aughts, like 09, 10.
Yeah. No, that was definitely like the end. Like that was the beginning of the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I personally thought that Blockers was like a massive breath of fresh air, and it might be in my top 10 comedies of all time. Yeah. Honestly, like it really resonated with me. And I mean, I think it didn't take like a million risks, but I'm assuming you would agree that it wasn't like a super play it safe.
No, there's definitely moments in that movie.
Yeah.
But going back to what you were saying, I think, it's hard for me to say this because I don't find it funny, but woke comedy is comedy. And a very small group of people find it funny or they find it important, but it's a trend, and like trends in comedies come and go. Like does anybody think Dane Cook is funny anymore? I had a CD of his stand-up special when I was in high school, and that was the funniest thing I'd ever heard. But like that style of comedy is not in play anymore.
But if he did a show right now or acted in a movie, like not my favorite, but I think it would be like pretty close to the cream of the crop right now.
It would be a breath of fresh air now. So
yeah,
I totally think it's cyclical, or we're gonna get something new.
Yeah, but I see. It's the thing is, I don't. This was forced though. This wasn't like this wasn't like the taste. I mean, when I just saw, you know what? I don't even want to call it out by name because I feel bad, like calling out. I have no problem calling out like a $50 million movie, or like a smaller one. But I saw like an independent comedy, and I told you about it. And I said it wasn't funny at all, but I thought it was a pretty decent movie.
Sure.
I mean, like out of everyone in the theater, I mean, there were probably like 100 jokes. I think there was one time where I heard the audience laugh. It's like people don't find this style of comedy funny at all.
Yeah.
It's no one is like, oh wow, we are in like the there's probably somebody out there, but I would pander to say that over 90% of people would say that like we are not in a good age at all for comedy film.
Definitely. Well, it's the vocal minority on X and social media.
Yeah.
They rile people up.
Yeah.
And Hollywood sees it like, oh, this is what the people want.
Yeah.
They want woke comedy. Let's crank this out. And then nobody shows up.
Where exactly. Yeah, no, I mean it's like bomb after bomb after bomb, and like they're saying like, oh, like comedy movies just people don't see them anymore. Like they're it's not something that can have a theatrical run, and I just don't think that's true. I really don't. Like I would be shocked if Todd Phillips' next comedy bombed. I'd be shocked if it even flopped. Like I think it will do it at the bare minimum okay. Because like I think that's the kind of movie like people like he made all this, like I'll totally go see that. Or even if someone was like people didn't know and it was like like Vince Vaughn or Ben Stiller or Owen Wilson, like a combination. It's like like these people are funny. I'll go see this. I think it's because like you're making these movies that like there's zero funny moments in the trailer. It's who are these people? Like you need at least like something. Like I think you could make a no-name comedy, and it could do well if like if it was funny from the trailer. Like if someone goes to see a movie, and I don't know how long the trailers are at the movie theater. Like I think they're probably anywhere between like 1 to 3 minutes or whatever. And you go and like you laugh out loud like 4 or 5 times at a trailer. Like, I think a lot of people are going to go see that movie even if they don't know who anyone is. And I really don't think it's a genre thing. Like I really think it's a function that the movies just suck, and that's why people aren't going to see it because, like, I think comedy is very much like horror in the sense that there is it is very attractive to see it in a theater with a group. I think you could make an argument for drama that isn't very attractive theatrical wise, but I also like. I don't believe in the doom and gloom that like these are just dead. Like you can't make a drama. Cause I think like Oppenheimer, that was probably classified as a drama, and like that did so well. I think that if you do any genre right, like people will come out and see it. Like I think it's just complete bullshit and just stupid Reddit negativity where they're like, oh, like this just died, and like I don't believe that at all. But wow, I'm on like such a long tangent right now. But like
this is good.
But like with comedy. And I look at horror, like horror routinely makes these $1 to $10 million movies that just knock it out of the park at the box office because they have these good premises, they have these intriguing trailers, they do cool marketing snippets. It's like, oh, I want to go see this. I don't buy for a second that you couldn't do that with good comedies and like make a comedy for $3 million and do $30 million at the box office. There's no reason why that can't exist. It's just the movies right now suck.
I agree. And Todd Phillips is great for, I think, picking out new comedians, too. Yeah. Which maybe we need a little bit of that, some fresh air. Because who knew who Zach Galifianakis was? I mean, he was doing stuff, but The Hangover made him a star overnight.
Yeah, I don't even think Ed Helms was that big when it came out.
Ed Helms, too.
And Bradley Cooper, like, he was a name, but he wasn't, like, what he was.
Yeah, and so that could be another thing. Like, we need a new crop of comedians, because Will Ferrell's very funny, and Tina Fey and all these people, but we've been seeing them doing the same kind of comedies for 2, almost 3 decades now. And maybe it's just time we bring in some new talent.
Why not both?
I
I still think that both of the names you mentioned, Will Ferrell and Tina Fey, I think they're both still draws, and I think they have a lot to offer.
Sure.
Yeah, but I would love to see new voices too. I do love my old school people, and I want to keep on feeding them. But I think it is cool to like add in let's get the next generation as well simultaneously.
And I'm thinking like with Bridesmaids, like Melissa McCarthy. I think she did. She was doing some television before that, but that movie made her a big star too.
Mm-hmm.
Who directed that? Was that Kristen Wiig?
Did she direct it too?
I don't know if she directed or wrote it, but there's definitely talented people.
Oh
out there
yeah. Oh yeah, they exist.
They just we have to allow them to spread their wings.
Yeah.
You can't be chaining them like you can't make these jokes. That's gonna really hurt the trajectory.
Yeah, I mean it has for the longest time. I'm optimistic that it's starting. Like we're getting signals that Reddit and Twitter are not, or X or whatever that we want to call them. These are not real life, and that like the numbers don't lie.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I guess the roast of that made. Well, I don't know. Netflix doesn't really share how much money they make off a project.
Yeah, they put a number out there. I don't know what it was. I wanted to say it's the most. Like this could be wrong, and that's why I don't want to make a definitive statement and avoided numbers. But I want to say that was the most streamed special they've ever had. But I don't know for sure. If not, it's definitely up there.
Well, that's hitting the mainstream now, and I think again going back to how filmmaking is really a business. They're going to see that people are ready for this again. Let's try to put more money into it.
Yeah.
And then that also goes to these producers. They have to be willing to take risks on these smaller budget movies because all we're really seeing are these blockbusters or these super low budget movies. Like nobody's making these $30 million small budget comedies really anymore.
No, they're not. And I mean, those are some of my favorite movies of all time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm thinking back. One of my favorite guy. Oh, now his name is escaping me. Who did Home Alone? Well, Chris Columbus did Home Alone, but the writer John Hughes.
Oh yeah,
So,
yes. He was.
His comedies have a lot of heart.
Yes,
and I think that's missing from comedy too a little bit. It's it can be very mean spirited, and I mean, I'm fine with that. But I like those comedies with hearts.
Yeah,
Planes, Trains, Automobile. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah.
I would love to see comedies like that again.
Oh, so good. And what's the one where he goes to Target?
Where he goes to Target.
Have you not seen that one?
No, I don't think so.
He gets a job at Target.
Oh, I don't know.
Oh, it was really, really fun. I don't even want to get into it because I'm struggling to even think about how to describe it without spoiling the entire plot. But it was a fun one. Like it wasn't my favorite movie of all time, but it was just a fun movie. And fun movies are good. They're fun. Not every movie that needs to get made needs to be thrown out with the expectation that we're going to make the greatest movie of all time. I mean, most of those movies suck anyways. Yeah. But a lot of the times it feels like a lot of the ones that are this is just supposed to be fun. A lot of the time they seem to hit and hit and hit. Maybe not always from the box office numbers, but they accomplish what they're trying to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
When did you notice that comedy had gone woke? Was there a year? Was there a certain movie that you saw that you're what is going on here?
It's really tough because I didn't see it as it happened because I didn't start going to the movie theater all the time until about 2017, and by then comedies had disappeared. So growing up, I probably went to the movie theater 2-3 times a year. There was a 4 or 5 year stretch or whatever that I probably went 5 to 10 times. So I would go with my aunt to see new horror movies. For whatever reason, that stopped at some point. But I didn't do I go to the movie theater 50 to 100 times a year. It's going to be closer to 100 going forward now that COVID and the strikes are over. So now there's content all the time. Right. But it really stuck out to me that these movies aren't when I go to see the list of movies in the theater, very rarely is there a comedy. And then I got lucky and both Blockers and Good Boys came out, and I was oh, comedies. And then I think it was like COVID around then, where it's like, oh, like these just aren't being made, and no comedy is ever funny. Because like I didn't watch like my favorite comedies like Wedding Crashers and Superbad and Old School and The Hangover and Fast Times at Ridgemont High and Days. I know those ones are a little bit older, but I didn't see like any of those until I was like over 18 years old. Wow. So like I didn't watch these in real time. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't allowed to watch that kind of movie until I was like 16, 17.
You had strict parents too?
Yeah, very much so. we very much not allowed to watch content that had sex or nudity in it.
Yes, yeah.
Which is very strange to me. Like it's like I could like watch like someone like there was a time where I was 14, 15, I was allowed to start watching horror movies that were rated R as long as they didn't have sex or nudity in them. So it was fine to watch someone like saw their leg off or like suffocate or just go through like immense torture. But if there were like boobs flashed on screen for 2 minutes, or 2 minutes, wow, that'd be quite the scene. No, but if there were boobs flashed on screen for like 2 seconds, but there was none of that going on, and like they said, like if the reason it was rated R is because like they said fuck a few times, and then there were boobs on screen for 2 seconds, completely not okay. But it was okay to watch any of what I just described. So
that's so fun.
Yeah, no, it's absurd.
I was the same way. Yeah. And I was obsessed with, like, Nightmare on Elm Street is my favorite movie. Yeah. My babysitter had a VHS tape where she would record movies on the TV.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, I remember those days.
She recorded The Wizard of Oz. I can remember it to this day because I would watch the tape over and over. It was The Wizard of Oz, then The Last Starfighter. Then it was Nightmare on Elm Street. So I would watch The Wizard of Oz. I would fast forward through Last Starfighter, and then I would watch Nightmare on Elm Street over and over.
It's such a good movie.
I was obsessed with those movies, but that started me on my horror journey.
Yeah.
And it was the same with you. It's I really wasn't allowed to see any horror.
Yeah.
If it was PG-13, it was pushing it. Like Gremlins.
Okay, I could watch PG-13.
Gremlins 2, I had to really beg because the first one was PG, so how much worse could this one be? But I think I was probably about 10 or 11, and this was when like Eminem was big, and I was obsessed with him.
Eminem. Yeah, Grandpa now.
And I had that's nuts. I just saw that. Yeah. I had the censored CD.
Me too. Yeah. And, wow, how similar.
I know.
Yeah.
And so that was like my bargaining tool. I remember I was getting close to being a teenager and telling my mom, well, all my friends at school have the uncensored version, and they're swearing all the time, so can I see movies that have at least swearing? And they're like, okay, well, you can see that, but no nudity.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's I don't understand why nudity is treated the way it is. No, it's funny because I was literally thinking about this on the plane yesterday because I rewatched The Dark Knight. Such an amazing movie.
I love that movie.
And I was thinking about it. It's like this movie. I saw it in theaters, and I had been 8 or 9 when I saw it in theaters. And that movie, in my opinion, is not okay for an 8 or 9-year-old. I think that's a movie that you probably need to be like 13.
Yeah,
probably need to like. Age is weird because like everyone ages differently, but like I feel like it's something like you have to have like gone through puberty or like at least like be in the thick of it to like be able to handle something like that.
Yeah. It's not like the cartoon series.
No, but it was like I saw it in theaters, way too intense. Like just like not a good movie for an 8 or a 9-year-old. But I saw it in theaters with my family, and it was fine because it's Batman, but also it's PG-13, like whatever. But then I couldn't watch something. I'm trying to think of an example of a movie. Like even like The Hangover. Like
sure.
I really think, ironically, that The Hangover would be more appropriate for a 9-year-old than The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight's so intense, and it's like what you're gonna watch The Hangover, and like there's gonna be swearing. I mean like there's gonna be a little bit of drugs and so on and so forth, but like it just kind of is what it is. But like The Joker's very intense. There's like some very just very
knife
adult
in the mouth kind of thing.
Yeah, I remember being so terrified
intense.
seeing that in theaters. I remember when they put the grenades in the mouth. I remember I was like struggling to keep my eyes open because it was so scary, and like just very adult themes and like questions about morality and everything, and are they going to blow up the other boat and everything? Like, this is so intense and just so not kid friendly. Like, this should be rated R, even though it doesn't like fit the parameters for why a movie needs to be rated R. But then like The Hangover, it's like, oh, like
they swear a lot.
Yeah, there's like not really,
faggot R.
Yeah, like there's not like a whole lot going on that like. I would argue there's nothing going on in that movie that could like adversely affect a 9-year-old, but like there very much is in like The Dark Knight and like other PG-13 movies.
Yeah, and a lot of things go over the heads of kids. Like I'll go back and watch movies I loved as a kid, and I'll pick up things that totally went over my head. But like that emotional stuff, that very intense, dramatic stuff, that sticks with you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, 100%.
I remember my dad took me and some of my friends to see Team America.
Yeah.
He was so embarrassed. He couldn't believe he took us to see that. We were like 12 or 13 when that came out.
Yeah. Which ironically,
again,
probably a 12 and 13-year-old can handle that.
That's like the audience it's made for.
Yeah, even though
South
it's
Park.
Yeah.
And but it's just like the swearing. It's not very intense. But it's funny. It's the MPAA, and that's another weird thing to me, because when you think of like woke, you tend to like think liberal, but you go back in time, like who was censoring Marilyn Manson? And, and who created
Eminem?
Eminem, and the PG-13 rating had to be made. That was very conservative.
That's so funny. I thought about that too, about how like the politically, if you were like a super politically correct, no fun, rigid in 2000, you were. Very far right wing.
Yeah.
If you are that nowadays, you are very far left wing. It's crazy how it's switched.
So it just goes to show you, like, you doesn't necessarily have to be a political thing. It's it's a censorship issue. It's a freedom of speech kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, and I guess like there is more nuance. Like there totally are. Like maybe not like quote unquote woke, but like there are like very much like. I'm sure there's a large chunk of conservative people who are very much like, oh, that's a good thing that like we don't have this kind of content. And I'm sure there was in the 2000s where there was very much like, there's probably a decent faction of left-wing people who were like, this is good that they're like censoring all these people. True. So like, But as majorities, like the point definitely stands.
It sure does.
Like there aren't like. You would never see like a political candidate that was on the left in the 2000s, I'm sure, like be like applauding like the censorship, and you won't like see like a political candidate on the right nowadays applauding like all the censorship. I'm not here to like make endorsements or anything, but like just like the irony of like how things are moving around.
Flipped, and it's similar. Who said it? Like I think it was Breitbart said that. Politics is downstream of culture, so, and it's the same thing with Hollywood. So people are going to make a lot of noise, and they're making this stuff, and then either the producers or people in government or whatever are going to respond to that and latch on to that because they want your votes, or the producers in Hollywood want to make money. So like, oh, I guess this is what the people want. So.
No, it's a mess. I wish people could just be themselves and just be genuine. Because I really think that this just comes back to the independent film magic that we're talking about in the beginning, and not just independent film, but just in general with film, like being authentic and staying true to your vision. Like those are the best movies.
Yeah, you have to be willing and able to take risks, and sometimes it doesn't go well, but I mean that doesn't mean you should get canceled. It's just like you learn from it. I mean,
100%. Yeah, I'm curious. Did you have anything to say about? Because I know I kind of I've really been motor mouthing and blabbing a lot. But you asked me about when I noticed things started to go woke. Yes. Did you have something to say about that? Because I know I said something and then I took us down completely different.
I did. This is. Well, she was beaten for this already, so it's okay for me to bring it up again, I guess. But this, I had an acting teacher who, one of our homework assignments was, okay, you have to go home and watch Hannah Gadsby's Nanette. This is the greatest stand-up comedy of all time. It's going to make you think. It's going to make you laugh.
I've never even heard of this.
And that's because it wasn't very good. This was 2017 or 2018, so this is when I noticed, like, woke was starting to get into things. So I went home to watch it.
Yeah.
And I sat there watching it like this, and I didn't laugh.
Yeah.
I didn't uncross my arms once, and I had to watch the whole thing just so I could report on it to the class.
Yeah.
But it was basically a lecture, and it was very sad. Like, I don't want to, Hannah Gadsby grew up and things happened to her. With YouTube and all that. I don't want to say, but she's a lesbian and she's woke, and it really is just a lecture, and she's making this basically voicing her political thoughts and all of that, and like, where are the jokes? Like,
yeah.
And so it was not very funny, and then of course everybody's like ragging on her on social media, and she feels very victimized by it, and I get that, but you're up on stage at the same time, you're like, we got to end the patriarchy, and white men are the worst.
Yeah.
So like, if you got to be able to take it, if you're going to give it
100%. And it's not going to be easy for everyone, and I'm very thankful that I am at the point that I'm at, like, from a mental health perspective, and like the growth I've made, because I wouldn't be able to handle pushback like 5 years ago. Like, that, it would really hurt my feelings. But like now, like, like I run some low cost, like, targeted ads right now on Facebook and Instagram to like try and build some momentum for Hometown Summer, and like I get comments all the time about people like commenting, like just like looking for things to like comment about me, and it's kind of like, it very much is whatever. I would like, they would like like, if I'm just being honest, like it would really bother me like 5 years ago or whatever. But like, yeah, like I definitely get pushback, and like people saying like, oh, like this movie looks terrible, or like, I watched your trailer for Rosetta Stone, that movie looks awful, like you're not funny, blah 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 blah. And like I can't think of like a ton of like other examples, but like they come up. Nothing too bad, but I get this like every single day, because like I'm just like running like a ton of ads, and like it's just kind of like it just kind of is what it is. But like, I definitely like can't make the kind of movie I make, or honestly like just like making movies in general, and like not be able to also handle like people criticizing you fairly or unfairly. And
it's a big risk to put yourself out there,
yeah,
and your vision out there.
And I just know, like, with this film, like, who knows how it's going to do in terms of like how many people are going to watch it, or what the reception is going to be. But like, I know, because of the way like I've like set up like the marketing and everything, and like all of the effort I've put in, like I know at the bare minimum there's just going to be like astronomically more people are going to watch Hometown Summer than Rosetta Stone. I mean, not a lot of people watched Rosetta Stone, and I'm not like that could mean like only like a few thousand people watch that movie, and that already would be like astronomically more people than Rosetta Stone. So I'm not like trying to like blow this up as like a ton of people are going to go watch this movie. I really don't know how many people will, but I know like for a fact I am going to get a lot more people are going to be like negatively critical of it, just because of numbers.
Sure.
And like, there are going to be people I'm going to get like hate and whatnot, and I'm also going to get blowback on some of the themes I explore and some of the jokes I tell. Like, I understand that, and it just comes with the territory.
I would rather get like one person who really liked the project and like 100 people who hated it, because at least I made everyone feels something. The worst thing is to say like, oh, it was okay.
Yeah.
They didn't feel,
that's the sign that everyone hated it.
Yeah. I mean, so
everyone hated it but didn't feel passionate about it.
Yeah. I'd rather everyone passionately hate it, but then even just one person who like really loved it and connected with it, then I did my job. Because you can't please everybody. Especially in comedy.
Yeah. No, and this really ties into a quote I saw from Aaron Sorkin. or no, like, oh yeah, saw it is the right word. I did see him say this, like in his masterclass, and I was already on this train of thought, but like just getting this reinforcement and hearing it from like people that you respect, like it's so awesome. And also he phrased this in a way that I never would have thought of it. So like awesome.
Yeah.
Like he said if you were preparing a beef dish and you wanted to please the largest number of people in the world, you would make a McDonald's hamburger. You would like almost everyone, at least that likes beef, would give some version of a thumbs up, but very few people would say this is the best beef dish I have ever made, or I've ever eaten. And I don't remember the beef dish that he gave the other example of. So this is not what he said, but this was just like if I were to prepare. It's like you make the best filet mignon. There are going to be so many people that are going to say this sucks. Why didn't you make a ribeye? Like who the hell eats this? This is terrible. But then you're going to get a large chunk of people that say this is the greatest dish I've ever had, or this is great, or I really like this. Who would have said like, yeah, the McDonald's hamburger, like the McDonald's hamburger is a 5 out of 10. It's not great. It's not bad. Like it's serviceable. Like yeah, I could definitely eat this and like. And I would be satisfied, but this filet is an 8 out of 10. And like, I think you see like where he's going with the quote is that like, don't make something that you're trying to please everyone. Make what you want to make, and maybe 10% of people will love it. Maybe it's so good and universally liked that 70% of people will like it, or 10% of people will love it, and 70% of people will love it. Do that and get like the worst case scenario: 10% of people love it, 50% of people hate it, 40% of people could take it and leave it, instead of getting 95% of people could take it or leave it, 4% hate it, 1% love it.
Yeah, and it's going to comedy, like if you're making like a Tim and Eric kind. Do you know Tim and Eric?
I haven't watched a ton, but I'm familiar.
They have a weird style of humor that a small group of people are obsessed with and love.
I do remember from when I watched it was not my cup of tea personally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But they have their dedicated fan base, and that's really all they need. So like, but you make the style of comedy that you would want to see. Yeah. And it's important to also, when you're looking for feedback, like also sharing it with people who get it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, definitely.
Because that's what you want to do. You want to stick to your own vision, but you also want to get feedback from people who kind of understand it.
Yeah.
And, because ultimately you're creating it for yourself, but you're presenting it to an audience of like-minded, similar style.
100% right. Like the Hometown Summers target audience is not a Baptist church in Mississippi.
Right.
It is not the gender studies majors at the University of Michigan. It's neither of those things. Yeah.
They're going to hate it, and they're going to tell you to scrap the movie, and that's what you don't want to do. So, but yeah, you want to know your niche and the group of people who are going to go along with this. Because they're out there.
Oh, yeah, and I that really. So I do make movies very selfishly, 100%. Like I make what I want to make. Like
this is what I would want to see on screen. Yeah,
that is 100% what it is. But there is the added bonus, and like what I've thought about as well is like I am not the only person on Earth that says like Todd Phillips, Judd Apatow, Seth MacFarlane, like these guys are the all-time greats, and where the hell are these movies? These movies are so good. Why did they go missing? I'm not the only person on Earth. Like it might only be 1% of audiences. It might be 50% of audiences. Who the hell knows? But like I can make someone's day by making these movies as well. Like someone will watch this, and it happened with Rosetta Stone, and it wasn't many people. It was a few people, but it's just. That is one of the greatest feelings is when someone messages me or comments and says, like, I've missed these movies and this movie made my day.
Yeah. I gotta say, I was so fortunate to have met you. Like, so, like, we met on, like, a website. You were looking for, like, some acting advice. So that's how this all started.
Yeah.
But at that point in my life, I had been so out of comedy. I did improv comedy through high school and college. I did stand up. I was writing sketches all the time, and I did 4 levels of UCB in LA. So like I was really into the comedy scene, but being in LA was probably the worst time I could have been there. It was like
Yeah.
The peak of woke.
Yes.
And
You
I
were
got
really
out
for the thick of it.
I got out at the right time. This was just before COVID. So
Yeah.
if I had stuck around for then, I would have been toast.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I was really down on it because like comedy is not the same, and it was very it brought me down. It made me feel like I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And so getting to work with you and then getting into watching the footage, I was like, okay, this is like, there's still people out there who want to make good comedy that I remember. And that got me watching more stand-up again. And it seems like, yeah, this trajectory is moving in the right direction. I feel more inspired again. So you...
no, that's so awesome to hear, and I'm glad that... No, I mean, that's really beautiful to hear. I really appreciate that, and that's awesome. I want more of that, and yeah, working with you has been just so amazing because you're someone who gets it. And these people probably it just seems like it's hard to find people who like in the creative industry who like see comedy the way I see it. I feel like it is because like a lot of like the people that are like in like the younger, like the 20s, 30s, because a lot of them were like trained by like on not funny shows and not funny movies. So then they think that this is funny, but so there probably are a lot of people like in like their 40s and above in like the comedy industry who are just like wouldn't like be like common collaborators for someone like me because like they're just so far along in their career or they moved into something else at this point.
Right.
So like it's so great that like we were able to connect because at least in our age groups, I mean I know you're a bit older than me, but like we're like similar age demographics. It's hard to find people who are funny and like find this kind of comedy funny, but I'm going to be optimistic and I'm going to say, you know what? Hopefully 10 years down the road, there are a lot of people in their 20s and early 30s that are starting to come up in like a less woke environment that like are funny.
That's why it's kind of like our job almost to like put it out there so this upcoming generation can see that and be inspired by it. And but yeah, it does take a little bit of courage, especially if finding actors and other creatives who maybe they do want a career in Hollywood, but they're afraid of what they can say or do. They don't want to affect their career.
And that's totally. I straight up have had actors turn me down on Rosetta Stone and Hometown Summer that like they want to make films, they want to like they want to be in films, they want a comedic role, and it's like, oh, like this is cool, like the audition process, like this is awesome, and I got a role. Oh, I read the script, and here's a list of 30 things throughout the script that people on campus would protest. It's kind of like that meme with the guy with the red buttons.
Oh yeah.
And like it's like, do I like want to do art, or do I want, or is like my self-righteousness more important than this? And I mean it's sad, and like I mean like even like the example, like I'll be nice and not mention any names, but like the example of like the crew member that I was about to hire, and like she goes through the script and she's like, well, I have a list of things that you can't joke about, like if I'm on this set, and she even wanted to get an extra crew member that would be there when we were filming to make sure that no one got too like no one told like two jokes that crossed the line too much. It's like, who the hell do you think you are?
What set is this?
And like obviously like I would never be a part of anything like that, and like that's just horrible, and no one should have that on any set. But she wasn't even like in the realm of like writing or directing or producing, like just a completely different field. Like what? Like I'm like I know I was like bashing them, but like just like to like put things in perspective, like this is a like on a studio crew, this is like an example of someone who would have zero communication with an actor.
Right, yeah.
So like this has nothing to do with anything you do. Why are you like trying to censor my movie?
Yeah, I mean, people feel passionate about it, and I mean, from their perspective, they think that they're, making a difference and they're standing up for people. But it's like, it's not gonna. You're just not gonna be a good fit on this this particular project. I'm sorry.
Yeah, 100%.
So it's very important to hire the right people.
Yeah.
Get the right people up front. And you were even more, I think, thorough with the auditioning process and finding the crew this time around.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
You know, you learn from every set.
100%, and I mean the next movie as well. I mean, I was very happy with the cast and crew on this set. Like, I don't want to... hopefully no one, if anyone's even watching at this point, hopefully no one is, like, on pins and needles or thinks that, like, I was unhappy with with anyone on the cast and crew. Like, totally no.
No.
Like this, like I'm like actually like blown away by how strong the cast and crew was and how pleasant everything was. Quite the opposite, but like you do learn things every time. And I mean, honestly, like I know this isn't like a professional thing to say, but you know what, I don't care. I just want to be genuine. I want to be myself. I don't feel the same way about the Rosetta Stone set, and you learn some things every time around. And I think like there were, like I said, I am very happy with the cast and crew on this set, but like there also are things that like I learned this time around that you can, like, additional questions I can ask in the cast and crew process. Because I think there's also, like, the aspect of making sure that, like, the people on the set are passionate about the film as well. And I think that that's, like, really, like, the magic you get.
Yeah, we know we're not here to push an agenda. We're here to make a comedy and make people laugh.
100%. And there was just one thing that's come to my mind a couple of times during this conversation that I just want to make sure that I say and that I genuinely believe in. And that's that I don't want to cancel woke. I think there very much is an audience for it. I want no part of it. I will not buy a ticket to these movies. I will not be a part of any of these films that are being made. But these do resonate with people, and I think that that's the beauty of cinema and art in general, like the playing to different tastes. Like, I think there is a role for this type of movie to be at the theater, and like, I think you can make these movies for like $1 million and like make like 10 off of them, because like there are factions of people that love these, and I don't want to like. I'm in no way am I trying to do the reverse of what happened to the style of comedy I like. Like, I don't want to say like, no, we need to get rid of these. We need to cancel these. We need to censor these. Yeah, like no, like these totally can exist, and they probably should exist because there are people that connect with them. So I think that there is room, like, if you produce both kinds, like, I have a sneaking suspicion that the actual, like, the ones that I find funny and love are going to just absolutely dominate the woke ones. But that's not to say that the woke ones can't exist and can't also be profitable at the same time.
Well, and I was kind of going into that earlier when I was saying I consider woke comedy a style of comedy. I don't think it's funny.
I know, I cringed at that,
It's like, but let the marketplace decide. Like, sure, okay, this is your vision, put it out there.
Yeah.
And then you see just a couple weeks ago that Matt Walsh movie, Am I Racist, was like number 5 on the box office, which is crazy. And it went to less than half of the theaters, and the marketing wasn't really there. I had no idea what this movie was until I saw a poster of it at the movie theater, and I got tricked. I saw the poster, and I said, there is no way I'm going to watch this movie, because I literally thought it was going to be a lecturing movie about like why we need DEI and everything. Oh, okay.
And I ironically... I go to the movies every weekend, and I was like looking. I was like, this is the only movie I haven't seen. I'm like, I'm not going to the theaters, and I was like, I'll just read the description again. And I was like, oh, holy shit, this is like
they're going for it.
Yeah. I was like, oh, okay. And like that was like the most like I don't think I've ever had an experience like that where I was like, no, I'm not going to see this. We're so like, oh, I'm like now all of a sudden I'm really excited.
And the people responded to it. Obviously, the Rotten Tomatoes, it had like a 95, 98% audience fresh.
Critics were pretty nice as well, and I think that's the fun. I mean, a lot of critics wouldn't review it, unfortunately, which shows we still have work to do in the front of just like freedom of expression. But the fact that it did get some mainstream reviews, I think, shows we are making progress. I don't think this movie would have gotten reviews in 2016 from like any publications. And the thing I noticed was that from both the audience and the critics, it's not like the political, it's not like viewed for like a polar political perspective that like Reddit will make you want to believe. Like I saw people, like critics that aren't political or admittedly lean more to the left that like gave an overall positive review of it, and it like it's
refreshing.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be like politicized like this.
No,
and I think that before like anyone, before I give anyone a heart attack, I know like we're so far in. Like I'm not like a super far right wing person.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm kind of all over the spectrum. So like this this definitely is not like a campaign announcement or like I'm not trying to push forward any. I've never like publicly commented on my political views or who I voted for like through like my production company or anything. Like I really don't think that that's important, and I haven't like found a candidate that I like am so enthusiastic about that I like want to like actually like push forward on like a creative platform. But like this is just something that happens to be politicized, that like I just have an opinion about that actually affects the medium that I'm working in.
True. And I think no matter who is in office, like you have to stay true to your vision.
Yeah.
And because again, the culture is going to dictate a lot. And so you were saying like, oh, we don't have to ban woke movies.
Yeah.
We're just going to offer like an alternative.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the answer to getting over this period of comedy is to make movies just attacking woke ideology. It's putting out these, like a new style or going back to, what was...
Yeah, I mean, so like I think like just the point you were wrapping up on was just about how like this doesn't mean that like you need to like make like movies where we're just like bagging on woke people.
Yeah, because then you're still giving energy to it.
Yeah.
And so I'll bring an alternative to the marketplace, and then we'll see what the people want to see and what the people enjoy.
Yeah. And
you create almost like a new movement. Like not that you want to put an agenda in a movie.
Yeah.
You just want to create
I just
comedy.
want to make movies.
You just want to have comedies.
Yeah.
Can't we all just laugh?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, we do have to wrap things up because we got to get out of here in like 10, 15 minutes at the latest to go get some Brazilian steak.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, but just some questions that I ask all of my guests.
Okay.
Number one, if there was, it could be two people or it could be one, writer and or director you could work with, who would it be?
Comedy or just in
Any
general?
genre.
I would love to work with... Oh, man. I would love to work with Christopher Nolan, I think.
I think he's the greatest director of all time, to be honest.
My dream would be to be in a Christopher Nolan-directed 007 movie. Would be like the dream project.
It's so funny because I don't want him to make that movie. I know that's the movie that everyone talks about, but then I think about it, it's like, no... It's probably just going to be fucking amazing. Because, like, I love Batman, so it's not fair. Like, I would have loved Batman even without him, but, like, that's not, like, a Batman movie.
No.
And it's, like, if he made, like, I think about, like, what's a Marvel movie I hate? Like, or Marvel character I hate. I don't know that I actually, like, hate any of them. I just don't like any of them.
Right, yeah.
So, like, if he was being tasked with... The one I really like is Spider-Man and Iron Man as well. So, like, what's another Marvel... You get the point.
Yeah.
If he was tasked with making a Marvel movie, it wouldn't be, like, a Marvel movie.
No, I think they would give him free reign to do his thing.
Which would never happen because they would never give... Marvel would not be okay with him. Yeah. That's an excellent choice. Like I said, I think he's the greatest director of all time. Now I am curious about comedy then, if you...
Comedy, that's harder because I don't know too many of the people like who are new and upcoming. I haven't been watching a lot, but I always like the Farley brothers.
Okay, yeah, that's...
like Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
And there's something about Mary.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of...
Yeah.
A little bit of gross out, but there's still some heart to it.
Yeah.
I like those. I don't think. Yeah, Mike Myers never directed his own like Austin Powers movie, but I always found him funny until The Love Guru, and then he's kind of disappeared. But
yes,
I like big I don't know, high concept comedies and kind of wild and out there.
Yeah,
character comedies.
I think we're a little different.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. One actor you could work with.
One actor. Maybe like. Oh man, it's so hard. It's so hard. I gotta go back to the Nolan universe and like Christian Bale.
He's so good.
I just respect that he went from this like skinny twig in The Machinist and then bulked up a year or two later for the Batman.
And then got fat for American Hustle.
That takes a lot of work, and it's not just like a vanity thing. It's like he's putting in the work.
Yeah.
So I respect that, and I would be interested to work with him and see his method and his process.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. No, I think being around anyone in the creative space that you really respect and admire, you could learn a ton from. I mean, I think it's true for literally any industry, but yeah. I as I've proven, I can really ramble on, so I'm just going to stop that, at least for the podcast right there. Otherwise, I'll go on for another hour and we'll miss dinner. Your top 5 comedies of all time is the last question.
Ooh, top 5. It probably won't be in order, but
no problem.
I'll list them out as they come to mind. The Hangover is very funny.
Okay, that's the first time a response has been repeated.
Really?
Up to this point, we either, depending on if we did 8 or 9 episodes, we had 40 or 45 different titles.
Thank you, Siri. So that's
Ben Arms, who played Travis, picked The Hangover as well.
He's my kind of comedian. Just watching his footage, I'm like, I could work with him. He's so funny.
Yeah.
But so The Hangover is great. I did mention Austin Powers. I like the second one, The Spy Who Shagged Me.
I've seen it. It's not for me personally, but yeah.
I like Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
I've never seen that.
That's so funny, and he's another character actor. He passed away, and whatever. Paul Rubens has a history, but I love that movie, regardless.
Uh-huh.
I don't think Home Alone is really a comedy, but like a John Hughes kind of thing, like Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll throw that in there. I like that. And then I need one more, huh? Man, I guess I'm gonna have to say Bridesmaids because I mentioned that.
That's a really good movie.
That was a really funny one. And I'm sure once this podcast is over, a whole list of other No, I will say, Dumb and Dumber. I'm gonna switch it out. I would rather watch that.
I would rather watch Bridesmaids. All right, fair enough. Okay.
You can see I like these movies with real character actors.
Yeah, so, I remember that's something that like I found out like through talking to you through like various different things is that like I tend to like smaller performances.
Yes.
Yeah.
Go big or go home.
Yeah. All right, but no, this was a really fun podcast.
So fun.
Yeah. We'll see how many people unsubscribe.
Yeah, I hope we won.
Yeah. But yeah, no, awesome. Let's go get some steak.
Okay, thank you.